In Pakistan, some of them turn to some of their friends, some of them take out, and the friends of the friends, and the community of friends, the children of the children, and the yam works in the. And there was a teenager named Idris and his brother who worked as masseurs for men for a small amount to help their family, and one day teenagers came to them and told them that our president will pay you double if you come to his house. Massage him. It was the last time he saw a miracle in it. After the disappearance of Idris, the police interrogated the owners of the house and said that it was the most famous case, and that he came for a massage, and then he left. The disappearance of the children became more and more, and the people of the town became in constant fear for their children, including a kidnapper. A free man can kidnap their children. The families whose children have disappeared have become in constant anxiety and are waiting for their return, but on the other hand, some families have not reported the disappearance of their children, believing that they have fled because of poverty or will return after a while. Rape them. After that, he killed them, cut their bodies into pieces, dissolved them in a barrel of acid, and threw the barrels into the river along with the police. He then sent pictures of some teenagers on a unit. They traced the source of the message, and they arrived at a house in one of the farms. This house was the same one that the teenager, Ijaz, who was massaging, entered, and then he disappeared as soon as they entered. The house had bloodstains on the walls and floors. And they found an iron chain, and they found barrels, and when they opened them, they found in them the remains of bodies dissolved in acid, and they found parts of human organs plus amputated feet and hips from the waist, and then they found bags full of hair. The house was inhabited by a 39-year-old man, Javed Iqbal, who sent the letter. And after they asked him about the validity of the message, and after he took a weapon and became. He threatens them that he will shoot himself if they do not leave his house. Some sources said that they are. They arrested him and took him for interrogation, and some said that he escaped and turned himself into the police after a month and told them that I killed 100 children, and his accomplices were arrested and they were teenagers, the oldest of whom was only 17 years old. Javed grew up in a conservative and wealthy family, but he was like him to me. His family were completely rejecting his behavior, but despite their marriage, they covered him up until now, and his son Al-Ain, and despite what happened with him, he assaulted many children, and every time they arrested him, he got out of prison because of the bribes he offered his father to the police and parents of children to withdraw their complaints. But why did he kill 100 children and teenagers with such brutality? Part 1 day, after they caught him red-handed, he was imprisoned for a period of time. One day, he was subjected to 100 days of torture and continuous beatings from the prisoners and the police, and on one occasion his mother visited him in prison and she died. And he said, I swore to take revenge on the police, and I will make 100 mothers cry for the separation of her son, just as you made my mother cry for me and cause her death. After several rounds of prison, he began to carry out the most horrific and heinous series of crimes in the history of Pakistan. In the beginning, he lived in a house owned by his father and one farmer and then opened a teenage video game store. Teenagers flocked to the store to play, and Javed was deliberately throwing money on the ground, and when one of the teenagers took them, he ordered his partners to take him home and tie him up, and then he would kill him until he passed out, and after he woke up he would throw him with all his might with an iron chain until he died, and then he and his partners cut the body into 100 pieces and dissolved them in a barrel full of acid. And he began daily kidnapping teenagers and children, raping them, and killing them in the same way, and through some websites on the internet he used to communicate with teenagers and lure them with gifts and money until they send their pictures and meet them and lure them to his house. Then he attacks them, ties them up, rapes them, and then kills them in the same brutal way. After they arrested him and searched the house thoroughly, they found the clothes and shoes of children and teenagers, after which they showed them to their families so that they could identify the belongings of their children who collapsed and cried after they knew the details of the heinous crimes he committed against their children. When they were transferring him from prison to the court, they provided him with protection consisting of 10 officers. Even when they attacked the families of the victims, he surrendered himself in court. They showed his confession and the remains of the bodies, but he denied everything again, although before he did not confess to the press all the details of the crimes, and he was calm and his behavior was polite, as if he was trying to attract the sympathy of the judge and the people. In the river, and after among the witnesses were some of the workers who saw the victims with Javid's accomplices. They sentenced Jawad and his accomplice Sajid, 17 years, to death in the same manner in which his victims were killed. First, they were purified with the same iron chain, after which their bodies were cut into 100 pieces and dissolved in acid, but before the sentence was executed, and in 2001 Javid and Sajid were found from Tahrir. On the same day, at the same time, in the same way. They used their shirts to hang themselves even though they were in 2 different cells, and rumors spread that it was possible that they had not survived. They did not commit suicide, and one of their accomplices was sentenced to prison, but he committed suicide by throwing himself from the 3rd floor of the police building, after which rumors spread that he had been tortured before committing suicide.